right. Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. Today is something I'm actually excited about. I've been messaging this guy for way too long, and finally, we have gotten a time to sit down and actually do a podcast together. And so this is Gary Odell from Portland, Oregon, and he has been in the industry for almost 20 years. So it's actually 19 years, but in May it will be 20. All right, Gary, you there?
I am. How are you?
Good. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in this because I have some questions for you. So we know how long you've been in the industry, but how did you hear about the industry?
Kind of a not really a great story. I was looking for a job, and it paid better than the one I was doing. And I'd always wanted to do something kind of outside as compared to working inside. And that was kind of job I had at the time. And my wife was looking through the paper one day. She's like, here's a job that'll get you outside. And it was Terminex, the company I worked for. And I went ahead and applied. And they hired me about a month and a half later. And just like I said, just needed a job, got the one I started with, and the rest is history, I guess you can say.
And you've been there ever since?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, cool. Now, did you know that pest control even existed at that time, or was this just kind of a fluke thing? Hey, here's, someone's hiring, just jump on it.
I knew about the industry. I didn't really, pay too much attention to it. I was honestly, when I was in high school, I always thought it'd be kind of fun to do, landscape work, things like that, trying to keep people's yards looking nice, and kind of expressed that to my wife prior to getting the job, and that's how she kind of knew that I was kind of what I was looking for. And I didn't really think too much about it. I mean, I lived in a house where we had ants from time to time, and the landlord would have somebody come in and take care of it, and that was about it. But when it came to the actual job itself, never really had it in mind to make it a career as I have so far. Yeah, well, now it's the best career because now you get paid to kill bugs. I mean, that's like every Absolutely.
Little boy's dream, right? I mean, we're killing bugs when we were kids.
Yeah, you can take magnifying glasses outside and burn ants that way. So
yeah,
all sorts of fun.
Oh yeah. So in this time when you actually got hired on, what was the process? Were there licenses, involved, or at this time was it just like, hey, come on, you can spray whatever you want, doesn't really matter, you don't have to go through any, licensing or anything like that?
Oh no, we had to go through the proper training to get our licenses. We have to have a minimum of 3 licenses here in Oregon to do pest control on a regular basis. And I had to go through the process of getting that done. I had to pass those 3 tests before I can get out in the field and do anything on my own. Spent a month and a half or so riding with a couple of different senior technicians at the time, just trying to learn the arts of things the best I could. And then eventually got my license and was kind of kicked out in the field to kind of learn on my own, so to speak. So yeah, it was a long process, different from what it is now, I think. But it definitely entailed quite a bit of work to get where I am now.
So out in Oregon, it was 3 tests you had to take?
Yeah, we have the basic for anybody who applies pesticides as a laws and safety test that has to be done. And because we're structural pest control, we have to have a general pest control license as well as a structural license, and that kind of covers termites and carpenter ants and wood-boring beetles, things like that. And now that we're starting to do mosquito work, we also have to have a public health license as well. So we technically have to have 4 now, but when I started, it was just those 3.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so and that's every technician has to get those. So you can't work underneath another guy's license.
You can, but it's a yearly license that you can do it that way. It's not what we want to do. We want to make sure that everybody is fully licensed on their own for the 4 or 5 years that the certification is good for. That way there's no fallback in case there's any issues. It's all, the technician is completely licensed.
Wow. Yeah. It's amazing to hear other states and how, they have everything structured.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I mean, here in California, it's so much different. I mean, we have an applicator's license and you have to renew that every 3 years. But applicator license, they can do termites, they can do general pests. They really fall under another guy's license. They can't identify and they can't do things like that, but they fall under that license and they can just work for a guy as long as they have that basic license.
Gotcha.
So that's
interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy how they kind of, you know, switch it up. So now, what's the weather like out in Portland?
At this moment, we're dealing with clouds, and this is kind of the way it is. We get a lot of rain, obviously, but we don't get really, really hot summers. We do once in a great while. Don't get a whole lot of snow, though we've got some this last year. It's kind of been weird. Of course, 2020 has been the way it is, but
yeah,
no, it's a lot of wetness, a lot of rain, a lot of cool, just kind of foggy, damp days, especially during the fall. It's not bad. It just, you know, there are days where it's cold, windy rain, and that's how it is. But you know, we don't have the extreme temperatures that a lot of other places in the country do. So I'm thankful for that. Yeah,
no, that's awesome. And so, are there any laws in Oregon that restrict you from treating in the rain?
Not laws in Oregon. It's more about what the label says. So we got to, you know, make sure we're following that the best we can. Making sure we're following, you know, what the label says to apply, when to apply, where to apply, how to apply. Of course, you know, certain products, you know, you can do it certain ways, and there's some gray areas. But they're, for the most part, you know, whatever it says is what you got to do. So it restricts to an extent, but we do have some supplemental ways of treating to get things taken care of to where we're doing a thorough, effective service as compared to just saying, well, it's raining, we can't do anything for you today.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Okay. That's. Man, Oregon's sounding better and better every time something comes up. Yeah, no, we have some pretty strict laws out here.
Sure.
So when it comes to rain, it's you got to be very, very careful, or you could be fined pretty heavily. So, but that's cool. So you're still able to work even though it's raining and things like that. So there's no stop there whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the materials we have that we use are licensed to where, you know, the label says that we can use it, depending on how heavy of a rainstorm or shower we have or what time of year it is when it's constantly raining. But, you know, we have dry weather for, you know, most of the day. It's fine. Again, we have other ways to kind of supplement what we do as compared to just doing a treatment around the base of the house kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's just some different things we can do.
Gotcha. Okay. One question, and I don't know if you can or can't answer this, but have you ever used a product called Fendona?
Fendona. If I have, I don't recall, and I'm usually pretty good about that. No, I don't recall anything like that. Is that the product name, or is that the chemical name?
No. That's the product name. So I've never used it. I really want to. I heard it works phenomenal on spiders, but I've never actually used it. It's not here in California, so I can't even get it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I do know it's outside, so I thought I'd ask to see what you thought of that product. But so getting into the industry, you got trained, you were kind of passed around to a couple different techs, getting trained by them. What were your initial thoughts when you were going through that training about the industry, what you were doing? What did you think?
I thought it was interesting, kind of learning what it was I was picking up on. Of course, here in Oregon, we have a lot of carpenter ants and things like that. Just seeing some of the damage that can take place from some of the pests just kind of blew my mind. Some of the things that they can do. When it comes to just learning the job itself, at first it was kind of overwhelming, just trying to get everything figured out and getting licensed and then getting out on my own and just learning how to deal with customers better than I had before. It was as the job. There was nothing wrong with it. I thought it was great. I mean, it was getting outside, doing something like that, not having to just sit in an office all day, and being able to look outside and drive around and do things like that was much better than what I kind of anticipated. So it was a change compared to what I was used to. But you know, it was interesting when I first started.
Yeah, you know, this industry is something else. I mean, it's so different even before I got into it. It's just so weird because you're by yourself. You know, you don't have a manager hovering over you 24/7, making sure, you know, obviously you have your route and you have to get those done, but you don't have someone there watching you. You don't have that guy who's just sitting over you telling you what to do every second of the day. So you're kind of let loose.
Yeah, that was nice. You know, not having somebody right there with me, making sure I'm doing things right. It was me who had to learn to do things right, or else I could get in serious trouble or hurt somebody. And that's, the last two things I want to have happen. So, it was definitely a learning experience for me. I mean, I started when I was 21 years old, so it's still fairly young. And so, just trying to pick up on things and get things figured out and make sure that, again, I'm doing things safely and in the right manner was something I had to kind of learn as a young man trying to get that figured out.
Yeah. So, I have an episode on it. I talk about kind of where to look for information, what to learn on, because I don't know if it was a similar experience that you had getting into the industry, but something with me is I got thrown into it. And I had guys that, have been doing it for 15 years or more. And I would ask them questions, but it was kind of like, well, you just need to go run a route. And I was like, okay, thank you. But I need to know, you need to answer some of these questions here. You can tell me, but they wouldn't. And so what is something that you turn to, or did you have somebody that you could actually go to and ask those questions? Or was there a book, or was there something that you used to learn?
Well, the guys that trained me, eventually one became a service manager for us and one moved to Texas. So I kind of lost some touch with those guys that were kind of running things for us and kind of helped me. We had a quality control individual that came through our office every once in a while, and I became good friends with him. And he kind of helped me around. I call him or send him an email or text here and there through the years and trying to get things figured out. And it wasn't until I started studying for my ACE that I finally kind of get a good idea as to what it is that, an in-depth idea of what this job entails. So, I had some people here and there, and it's kind of interesting that now it's kind of going back to where I'm that person that everybody kind of falls to. When, I never thought that would be the case in my life. I never thought I'd be the person that people be coming to. And it seems like that's who I am to an extent, is the person that they come to when a manager is busy, or, some of the people that I've helped train has gotten to that point of, getting out on their own and they need a hand with something real quick. I'm that person they go to. So I had a few people, but a lot of times it was just me kind of picking up on things and again, studying myself and trying to get to where I am now.
Well, Gary, you're a rare few. You are no, and I'm honest. I mean, I haven't been in the industry as long as you. So, but everywhere I have been and talking to so many different technicians, I'm just amazed. You actually are, you stood up to that. You went and you found information. Now you're that guy that people can rely on. Where, a lot of guys that I've actually met and I've talked to, you can't really, they're not going to be able to answer anything. And sometimes what they do answer, it's what I find out later is that it's actually wrong. So unfortunately, I mean, I hope that, hopefully they can learn and grow from that. But that's awesome that, you are that reliable source now for, those younger technicians, or I shouldn't even say younger, the newer guys that are getting into the industry. You can be that pillar to help them out and kind of show them the ways. Yeah,
I mean, I spent so much time, learning all this stuff. I have all this knowledge in my head that I never really thought I'd ever gain. And it's not useful to keep it to myself. I might as well let some people know what's going on. I have a tendency to overextend what I do and get a little deep into things that people are just like, dude, I just asked you a simple question. But I'd rather somebody know too much than not know enough. And so they can be better technicians and make the customer more happy and have that ability to make their customer, more proud of who it is that they use for their pest control service. And if it means I pass along my knowledge and my expertise and what I have, then so be it. I'd rather, our company succeed as compared to losing out and, us not getting the customers that we want, trying to keep those long-term relationships that we're trying to gain.
Yeah. And, it's something that I got to see a ton in when I was, cause I actually knocked doors. I sold pest control. And one thing that, I probably make fun of a few different companies, on the podcast, but it's nothing personal because I know it's actually not the company. Unfortunately, a lot of it actually falls back down onto the technician. And
Sure.
So that's something that I would always say on the doors when someone would say, oh, I hate these people. They suck. And I would say, no, it's probably the guy you had. I wouldn't say that it actually comes back down onto the company. I doubt they would teach that guy to do that certain thing. Okay. It's probably, you just got a bad tech.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they're out there.
Yeah. People just kind of fly by the seat of their pants, so to speak, and they don't put a whole lot of effort into making it happen. And you know, that's on each individual, like you said.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, they have to put in the time, the effort, and companies just hire on as many people as they can sometimes just because they have so much work and they can't really fine tune who they're getting and how good those guys are going to be. And a lot of them actually get kind of filtered through the system and they get pushed out, but you can't control that 100%.
Sure. Yeah. And it goes back to the individual, like you said. I mean, it's how much are they willing to put an effort into to have an idea as to what it is their job entails, aside from just the bare basics. They have to learn different things. And I just did this recently where I kind of went through and listed the roles as a pest control technician of things that I do. And I had probably a good 15, 20 different things that I have to know on a regular basis, or things that I do on a daily basis. That's more than just being a spray jockey, so to speak. Things of being a professional driver, being a problem solver, having a knowledge of all the different, pesticides that we use, pests that we deal with, all these different things that I went through. And I was blown away by the amount of things that I have to have kind of wrapped up in my own mind as a technician to be able to do my job thoroughly and correctly. So, I mean, there's so much that we have to learn to do things right, at least legally, let alone to be effective in our job. So, anybody who gets into this business, they're signing up for quite a bit. It's not just being a spray jockey carrying around a sprayer, just calling it good, and that's the end of your day. This is sort of it's a business. My service manager likes to say this is our territories, our routes are just kind of our business. And we're running our own businesses by doing this. And it's just kind of something that you have to kind of learn and pick up on. And you got to get the advanced knowledge to really get an idea of what you're dealing with. And it was just mind blowing to me to kind of get a grasp on that kind of thought.
Oh yeah, no, it's something else. It's not like that's, I mean, I can harp on that all day long, that this industry is a very unique, I mean, even this job is just so unique, in a whole entirety. Cause yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, driving, you gotta, someone has a pest, they say on the door, you can't just spray and pray. You can't just grab your, you can't just grab your backpack spray. You can't, your B&G, you're not just going to go spray around the house and call it good. I mean, depending on the pest, you have to alter that. You got to switch up your technique and what you're doing on that house. So, I mean, you do have to use your brain a lot. And, getting into it, you got to know about that.
Yeah. There's a lot that we have to know in this job. It's not just, we're not just a bunch of idiots out here. We have a pretty good knowledge of things. Anybody who's in the industry for any amount of time knows that it's more in depth than it seems to be in public perception, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. And the cool thing is, though, at least here, what I've dealt, and I'm sure you have so many stories with it, is it's so rewarding. I didn't have a rewarding position, or job before, pest control, because when you go out to a house that's infested with ants and you take care of it, they're so grateful.
Sure.
People actually show that, they express that, come Christmas time, they're giving you cards and gifts. And I mean, it's crazy, the relationship that you end up building. Where I worked at a warehouse, there was no satisfaction there. I didn't have people saying thank you for what you're doing. There's no one really appreciative of it. I mean, my bosses were, but when it came to the general public, they didn't care what I was doing in the warehouse. Yeah, no,
I agree. It's nice to have the feeling of making someone's life better, so to speak, by eliminating a problem in their home. It's one of those things where you spend time in an area and you get to know people, and you take care of pest problems that pop up, and they'll do anything for you. They love you. They want to know how your family's doing. You get a good relationship with people just by doing your job and being friendly. And I've been in the same territory for close to 10 years now, and I never thought I'd be in that kind of a position. But just knowing certain people expecting me on a specific month, specific time, they're waiting at the door and, they're giving me fresh baked cookies just as I'm leaving, or, they give me a card, or, sending me something for Christmas, whatever be the case, just from just doing my job right. And, how appreciative and thankful they are. It can be very, very rewarding, very, very nice to hear from somebody. You check up on somebody. Hey, I know your problem was going real bad there a couple months ago. How are things going? Oh, I haven't seen anything since 2 days after you were here. I'm so thankful. We were so happy. That's the good feeling, is when you do something like that. For me, being somebody who didn't really feel I did great through high school, getting into this industry and finally doing something right, it makes me happy. I'm like, yes, I actually did my job right. It actually makes me excited. But it has its moments of making you really, really thankful for the fact that you can do the job. And I'm thankful every day I do this job. But there's those moments, like you mentioned, that just really make you happy and glad you're in the industry.
Oh yeah, well, and that's something that's awesome that happened. And if you guys didn't, any of the technicians, operators, anybody who's listening, didn't see this, well, I'm gonna throw it out there. But during COVID, you really got to see that we are the essential workers. Yeah, there's other categories that did their part too, and they did an amazing job. But we were part of that. We got categorized in that section of essential workers because of what we do and the pests that we take care of. And a lot of restaurants, they can't be open if we're not there.
Right.
They get fined if we don't show up.
It was crazy that we were deemed that, and a lot of people were asking, well, why are you still doing this? Why are you? I'm like, well, because we have pests that need to be taken care of. They don't care that there's COVID out there that's shutting everything down. People still got to be at home, and they don't want to deal with these pests in their home while they're having to stay home, or whatever be the case. So we had a job to do. We had trying to keep people's homes or businesses pest free. Even at a time where that is the case. Where people are home or not home, whatever be the case. And it was something that was a very different time for sure. There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, and it's definitely changed a lot of the industry and what we're doing. But it was amazing to see that we got to keep going. This is an industry that's recession proof. It's COVID proof. We proved that real quick. And we're not going away. It's not going anywhere. Because if we're not taking care of the bugs, who is?
Yeah, we won't be having any robots taking care of pest problems, I'm pretty sure, at least, the way things seem to be going.
No, and that's the other thing. You can, they've made warehouses, full robots that just do everything for us. You can't do that when it comes to, insects or rodents or just this job in general, because I don't even know how they would figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So there's always going to be a position for a person in pest control. That will never go away.
Absolutely.
So what is a secret? So any of the new guys that are listening, what is a secret that you would say, to a guy coming into the industry? Is there something that you're like, hey, you got to know this, you got to do this? Absorb whatever you can.
That'd be my thought. Being the head trainer in our branch, that's one of the things that I kind of harp on is, take notes, learn from something, learn from this, learn from that, just so you're prepared when you get out there. I wouldn't say it's a secret so much, but a lot of people just kind of go, okay, well, I'll pick it up as I'm going along. Oh man, pick it up now. Get it in your mind. Follow the good examples in your location, in your company that are doing things right, that people look to, and if you've got metrics that you look at, they're doing the right thing top to bottom. We've got 2 or 3 guys in our location that are just top notch when it comes to looking at how they perform and how they do their jobs. That they do an unbelievable job. Just following them the best they can. And again, just learning what you can. That seems to be the most important thing to me.
Oh yeah. Keeping an open mind it's so crucial in this industry. With all the changes, everything that's happening, and actually talking about that, what changes have you seen in Oregon since you started to now?
Man, I was even thinking about this. The changes that I've seen, I guess kind of the integration of some of the different pesticides was one thing, just on the technical side of things. When I first started, our service tickets, were done on dot matrix printers. They were all manual tickets and things like that. And they were printed up where you'd have to handwrite them. Now everything is in a phone. We can print out service records after a service is completed, or we can email them. That's just kind of a mind blowing thing that all technology is in our phone now. There's no need for handwriting anything. There's and unfortunately that could be a detriment, but there's things that have changed in that sense. The technology alone is just amazing to me. The amount of things that they're looking at doing of, several companies I've heard and seen where they want to put little monitors on snap traps for rats and mice to tell you whether a trap has been snapped or there's something inside a trap, and just like really more checking things. You can do it remotely on a phone or on an app. It's just crazy. So things like that are some things that have changed for me over the years. Just going from handwriting everything or printing it out, going into the office each morning to print up things on a dot matrix printer, and now it don't even need to. It's all downloaded immediately in real time. As compared to what it used to be. It's just amazing.
Oh yeah. And then what about product wise? Have you seen changes through products where they may have taken some away? They're illegal now. Have you seen any of that?
Yes and no to an extent. A lot of the stuff it's changed in the efficacy, the way that it works, and how they've upgraded some of that stuff. The different products that work seem to work when I first started are either no longer made or they're no longer produced, or we just don't have them anymore, to things that are much better now. I think of we started with a liquid bait for ants back in 2001 that was trash, quite frankly. I don't remember what it was called. But now we have stuff that has neonictids in it that seems to do an unbelievable job. Who would have thought that that kind of a product, something like that, would change the industry, at least for our sake, when it comes to the type of ants that we deal with here, would be beneficial. I spent many years before we got the stuff that we have now, but I'm never going to bait for house ants. They just don't work. They don't take it. And finally tried some stuff that was new, and it seemed to work really well. So different things like that. No big things like DDT was already outlawed when I first started, so it's not like we had any change when it comes to that. A lot of the old school stuff like that, the organophosphates and the carbamates and different things like that are gone. They're outlawed or just banned or whatever be the case. And we never really had that when I started, but it's amazing that I still, as we're training folks, we still have to go through that as part of either for our licensing or for the job itself. Still have to talk about this stuff back in the past like it's still made, and it's not, of course. So it's kind of funny in that sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and I mean here, if you listen to, one of the episodes I did, the AB, I think it's 1788 is the law that they just passed here in California. So we're now living, at least in California, we're living through these changes where they ban contract. So there's certain now rodenticides that we can't even touch. They won't allow us to, in a certain extent.
We use contract for our baits, and I honestly, the way the legislation here is in Oregon, I can't imagine it's going to be too much longer to where we're going to be the same way, which will change. It'll revolutionize how we do pest control. I don't know, quite honestly, how you guys can do it aside from just putting traps out and exclusion. I'm not looking forward to it. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know, but I'm afraid here in the Northwest that's something that's going to take place sooner rather than later, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do have some. There are some good products still. I mean, it just takes a lot longer. So we didn't eliminate 100% bait stations around homes. We are focusing a lot more on rodent exclusion work and trapping. But bait stations themselves haven't disappeared completely. And the product that they'll probably go to in Oregon is going to be cilantro.
Okay.
That's a big one here that has taken off. They have a few others that you can choose from, but cilantro is one of the most affordable ones. And how it works is it's kind of cool, the idea behind it. There's a stop feed in it, so they actually don't eat the entire block itself. So like you've seen contract, you probably open up a bait station and then it's gone. And you'll see the little blue turds in the, in the bait station, and you're like, yep, he's dead.
Yep.
You don't see that anymore. So you'll see little nibbles off of this bait. And what it does, it's a diet pill for rats. So it makes them feel full. So they'll take a couple bites, they'll instantly feel full, they walk away. They're not going to take, an entire chunk out of it. So we've gone back, we check bait stations, and they're a quarter of it's gone, maybe, or you'll see a couple bites and it's gone. And the only downside to it is it takes up to a week to actually kill them. And it's a multiple feeding, so they have to go back multiple times. So, yeah, but, that change in the industry has actually been pretty crazy to see, an actual, couple products actually get wiped almost clean off, just from that. So that's interesting. So now I got one last question for you, maybe a couple more if it comes up. What would you tell someone who's been in the industry for a really long time? Is there any tips? Is there anything that you would say to them or have said to them?
It's hard to say, just because the people that I work with are really, really good about sharing their knowledge as well. Just going back to the whole thing of just share what you've got. There's no reason for you to hold on to this. It's not some jewel that you have to keep for yourself. I mean, share your knowledge, share your wisdom, share what it is that you have. There's no reason for you to keep that to yourself. That seems to be the key, is that, the only way somebody's going to learn is if somebody passes down the knowledge. I mean, how many times do we think of, sitting down with grandpa and grandpa telling you stories when you're a kid? Be that grandpa, just share that knowledge. You pass it down, let somebody else have the same thing. Tell the stories of the bad times you've had, the fun times you've had. Give them the knowledge. Don't keep it to yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I agree 100% with that. Open up, tell them everything you know, give them all the secrets, let them understand, because eventually, and I've seen this with way too many guys, is they get scared that someone's going to come up, from underneath them, a new technician, and take over their position or their route or whatever. And that's not the case. You'd be surprised at management looking down, seeing how helpful someone else is going to be, and they're going to keep you, or even bring you up to their, into management or higher up before anybody else, because you're so open and willing to share that information with everybody.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody. Again, I've been in the same place for almost 20 years, so it's a little tough for me to think of somebody not being willing to share. I mean, I think I'm kind of the forefront when it comes to that. I kind of lead the pack when it comes to that. Become, sharing information with the new hires, let them know what's going on. And if somebody becomes a service manager over me just from the knowledge I've given them, so be it. I mean, that's the way it is. I'm content where I'm at. It's not like I'm scared of losing my job. I do a good enough job. I don't think my manager is going to kick me down because somebody else is better. I don't understand it, quite honestly. If somebody does that, it's not, I don't know. It's not a good idea for somebody to do that. You're not being very helpful. You're not being a very good teammate. And the company is trying to succeed. Whether it's your company, my company, it doesn't matter. We're all on one team. We're all supposed to succeed. And if that means passing down the knowledge, then that's what we're supposed to do.
Oh, absolutely. I'm 100% agreeant with that. I think every technician needs to be open. Every technician needs to be able to provide that information. We are all on the same team because, we see it all the time with new laws changing, labels changing. We're under the radar of, for non-targeted pests dying or getting infected in some way, so we're under the radar. So we need to share that knowledge to protect that and protect what we're doing, because we do, something that's so important in this world.
Right.
So, okay. I actually do have another one. Okay. You got to tell me, I have a few, so we'll kind of use the same question, but we're going to make a spin, kind of twist it a little bit. But what is the craziest thing you've run into?
Oh man. Making me think here. We had a really, really bad roach problem in a restaurant, here in town, many, many years ago. And I had never seen anything like this. We busted out an Actisol machine. Of course, anybody who knows an Actisol machine, it's just a mister. You can put it in certain spots and it kicks out whatever you put in. And we were using pyrethrins to blow up the product in the Actisol machine. And we were treating in the kitchen of this place, and it was not a very clean place at all. And of course, we got vacuums going. We got people spraying. I mean, it's an overnight kind of situation. We were just trying to hammer out what we could, and we would hit the Actisol machine under the huge stand-up freezer that they had, this kind of roll-around freezer, and we had 3 or 4 people with vacuums trying to suck up all of the cockroaches that came running out of there at the same time, and we couldn't keep up. There was probably a good 3,000 or 4,000 of them that came boiling out from underneath that freezer. I was blown away the amount of roaches that were in that place, and just going through the entire place. And of course, being foolish at the time, we were not wearing respirators when we were doing the Actisol with the pyrethrins. That was an interesting thing. Do not do that. Make sure anytime you use an Actisol machine to wear a respirator, please. Just making sure, just trying to get all the cockroaches up in this place it was unbelievable. I think we went out there 2 or 3 different times trying to get rid of this problem. It was insane. Just trying to take care of it, and, baiting as much as we could, trying to hit them with the Actisol, hit it with the vacuums, with the, some sort of liquid residual, trying to do what we could, trying to clean up the best we could. It was crazy. We were there for a good 4 or 5 hours just trying to get rid of what we could.
Oh man, that's wow. Do you have a interesting or just weird experience, running your route?
I have a couple that probably don't need to share on a podcast. Just some interesting things that kind of came across that just blew my mind. Just some really, really different situations, but just running into people who are just kind of weird and wacky, and they want to tell you that they're in the midst of cleaning, and you look around the house, you're just like, really? You're just in the midst of cleaning? Just different things like that. It's just you're interacting with people, and people that have different tolerances for the pests that they deal with, or how they live their lives, and however people live is how people live. But you're just like, wow, okay. I remember taking care of a rat problem at a customer's house, and just looking out their backyard as I'm putting traps in the crawl space, and I look out and I've got a fence, and there's a shed next to the fence, and I'm seeing an apple bobbing up and down towards the shed, and it turns, and all of a sudden there's a rat carrying an apple probably about 20 feet from me, and I'm like, wow, we have a serious problem here.
Oh, wow.
Just rats everywhere in this backyard, because there was fallen apples on the ground, and they had dog food in the house that wasn't really didn't do a very good job of keeping it cleaned up. Just different situations like that to just kind of make you go, wow, okay, this is pest control. Okay, just coming across things like that. Dealing with a commercial account where it had rats running up and down my feet trying to get across from me when I was trying to take care of things. Just because it was a really bad situation. It's kind of hard to explain, but just blowing your mind the amount of rats that this place had. This one, it was a garbage recycling center, so it's not like it was some business. It was where they brought the garbage in, and then they put it into trucks and sent it to a place to incinerate. But they put organic material, food from restaurants. They just pile it in this bay, and of course that's a buffet for them. Oh yeah. So they were just running rampant there. I actually ended up having. I found a piece of rebar about 4 foot long that they had sharpened to kind of scrape some of the garbage out of the back of the trucks. And I was having to, quote, manually eliminate the rats with it. That was the only way it would really help, because bait didn't do any good. They didn't want to eat the bait. They didn't want to touch it because they had a better food source around the corner and there was more of it.
Yeah.
So I had to manually eliminate rats with this piece of rebar. And I probably took care of close to 100 of them while I was doing the service in a matter of 2 years, just doing that alone. It was just mind blowing. Just trying to, like putting a Band-Aid on an artery would. It never really solved the problem, unfortunately.
No, I mean you kill one and there's they're already reproducing. You're not going to do much.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
How long did you spend that? You just doing that? Like an hour? You were there just whacking away?
I had to check bait stations outside and then do that. And I'd spend just going around this big facility. It was probably about 45 minutes each week. That was a weekly account. And so having to go there every single day, just my weekly dose of, having to end rats' lives was kind of amazing. I dreaded it every time. I didn't want to do it that way, but again, that was the only way I knew it was going to work.
Well, that's something that, people don't want to kill them sometimes. I'm like, they're disgusting. Unfortunately, sure. I understand they're an animal, but they bring disease, they bring problems. They don't really serve a purpose.
That was kind of, because I'm not a hunter, but I know how people feel when they get their first kill when it comes to doing hunting. Now, that kind of adrenaline that you go through, and I kind of felt bad and didn't really like what I was doing, but I kind of, I guess, sort of reconciled it in my own mind that if I was laying there dead or dying, these things would eat me. Oh, yeah. That's how, that's the only way I could really get in my mind. That they, as you said, they spread disease. They're disgusting when it comes to that, and they're carnivorous. So, I'm not anything important to them, just like, I guess that's how I have to treat them, unfortunately. So, yeah, it took a little bit of kind of introspection and kind of thinking to myself, yeah, it's okay. This isn't going to be that big of a deal. There's plenty of them. They're reproducing faster. They're not an endangered species for sure. So, no. Yeah, it took a little bit of stuff in my own mind.
Yeah, that's something, for every tech, it's crazy the things that you will see in the industry. It is absolutely nuts. When you don't think it's possible or it's real, or you hear a story like you fogged underneath a freezer and thousands of roaches came out. There's probably some guys that are like, man, that's probably not true. No. I've been in a house that was true.
Yeah.
So it's crazy some of the things that we get to see. And some of the things I want to unsee. But it's crazy. It is.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Well, Gary, is there anything else you would like to say to the listeners before we end?
Nothing more than, just keep pounding, just keep doing what you're doing and try to have a good mindset. If anybody has they're thinking about quitting or whatever be the case, or they feel that they're not really making any kind of impact, you kind of set your own course, in this industry. You have managers that lead you have people that can kind of guide you and train you, but you're the one that does it. It's, again, like I said before, it's your own business. Run it like your own business. Take responsibility. Take the leadership of your own area. And in our company, we make our own money. We're not paid hourly. We're paid differently. So the more we do, the more we create, the better we do. So I'm not living hand to mouth just because I have been around for a while. But people who started early in this business, I've trained people and worked with people that, being in the industry for just a couple of years, they were doing really good for themselves when it comes to taking care of their family and being able to do what they want to do in their life. And don't give up. Keep pounding, keep doing what you're doing. The seasons come and go, and you have good times, you have bad times, and you just got to kind of roll with it. It's the only thing I could do to myself is just kind of keep doing what I'm doing. I have a reason for what I do. I have a reason for why I sacrifice what I do. And everybody has that, and I would just say, everybody just keep doing what you're doing. There's no reason to give up. There is some rewards that come with this job. It can be frustrating. It can be irritating. But if you're helping people, you're making people happy. That's the most important thing, is just making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. And, it eventually can work out for you. I never thought, honestly, when I first started, I thought I'd be doing this for maybe 2 or 3 years and I'd have to find something else. I never thought 20 years later, I'd still be doing the same thing, doing what I'm doing, as happy as I am doing what I'm doing. So, it's all in people's mindset, but, just keep pounding. That's the only thing I can really say.
Oh yeah. It always comes around. It always comes around, and you'll start to understand and see and realize, what good, you're actually doing, in the city that you're in. So, Well, thank you so much, Gary. I'm so glad that we actually finally got to do this. And I am sure I will be reaching back out, to do another episode with you.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Bye. All right, so you got to hear from Gary, the technician out in Portland, Oregon. it's really awesome to kind of understand, situations in other areas and other states, and especially for, the month of April, that, that's the National Pest Management Month. It's awesome to hear, from a technician who's out there, boots on ground, pounding away at this position, at this job. And you got to hear it from a guy who's been in the industry for 20 years. Same company, which is awesome. I harp on that too. I mean, that's something that every, technician needs to do out there. But, guys, learn from that, take for that, from what he's saying. New guys, listen in, take that information, use that information, be open, be ready to change. He's a guy who's been at it for 20 years and he's changed with the industry and where it's been. But, I want to say thanks, Gary, for everything that you're doing out there. Thanks for sticking with it for 20 years. And, honestly, for being a phenomenal technician. Holy crap, man, you're amazing. Just talking to you, that excites me. That pumps me up to go out and freaking, start hitting rats with a pole. No, I'm just joking, but it's awesome. So thank you, Gary, for everything you've done. And, just keep at it. Let's hope you stick at it for another 10, 15, 20 years till you retire, man. Thank you so much. And thanks for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. If you guys have any questions, you want to be a guest on the show, you can email at dnapestpodcast@gmail.com or go on Instagram. You can send me a DM, and that is at DNA Pest Podcast, okay? At DNA Pest Podcast on Instagram. Thanks for listening.